everyone, it's Sharonda from Payroll Weights, and today I'm going to be reviewing Claws Season 3, Episode 2, Muscle and Flow. And so the episode picks up where we see that Desna actually was able to go ahead and get the nail salon back that was seized by the government as they were handling all the stuff was Zlata, how do we say her name, y'all? And so she was able to buy it back at auction, so now she's going to use her nail salon business and franchise it and use it as a front for her money laundering business with all the crazy stuff they have going on at the clinic, the casino, and all of that. So she's pretty excited about it, and she decides that she's going to have the ladies split their time between the nail salon and also too at the casino because they need someone with their eyes on what Mac and Melba are doing at all times to ensure that there's no issue. So she has Virginia at the nail salon full time to make sure that she's handling everything there, and then she's going to spend most of her time at the casino. So this proves to be easier said than done because Mac and Melba, because they're trying to hide the money laundering business, how much money they're actually making. They're going to try their best to keep Desna and her friends as busy as possible, so much that they don't have time to actually snoop around. Now, we see that at the end of the first episode, we saw that Toby was the one who was actually trying to kill Desna because he feels that she's disrespectful to Uncle Daddy. And we saw this again when Uncle Daddy came in asking her for the license, and then him mouthing off at her and her basically saying like, okay, well, you have to pay me this much now because I'm the boss and you need to know your place. And so Toby seems to be a little bit upset and angered again. But I feel as though even though Uncle Daddy told Toby that he could only go rogue one time and he needs to kind of reel it back in, I feel like there's going to be another problem. But we also see that Toby is having some type of guilt for what he did to Virginia, as we see that he's just like, can I get you anything? Do you need something? And Virginia kind of senses that something is off with Toby as well. So to the casino, there's a lot going on, and Desna can basically tell that Mac and Melba are keeping stuff from them. She sees the shady Mormons as she's trying to investigate that. They got people coming up to her about crazy stuff that's happening. You got people fighting. They got the little muscle girl convention or contest going on. You got people fighting. All this craziness happening. They made sure that everyone goes to Desna for these issues to make sure that she stays busy. So she sees them with the shady looking Mormons. She's trying to do more investigative work on that, but she's getting calls from the nail shop. Virginia, they have the alarm going off, and so Virginia don't know how to turn off the alarm. And I was just like, girl, like, you don't want to write this down? Like, why does nobody know how to shut off an alarm? So Desna's being pulled in all of these different directions, and so being a boss, which she thought would be easy, is becoming very hard because she doesn't know how to balance between these two different lives. And so we see her kind of go off from Virginia. She comes to the shop. We see that Dean was having an issue with the officers because they were trying to tell Dean to calm down, and he was like, stop it, you'll shoot me. And he was like, he will shoot me because I'm a black man. He was like, dude, my partner's black. And so how they're still kind of infusing, you know, Dean's views as a black man, like how he feels about police in these situations. I think it's very interesting to see how all of these things are playing out. But also too, seeing that Desna, who feels as though she can do it all, she's having a very hard time of trying to balance all of her businesses as she's taking on a little bit, as she's bit off a little bit more than she could chew. So we see that Polly and Ken have been having some issues. Polly's been avoiding Ken ever since she got out. And basically Ken's been like being really thirsty. He has this really weird interaction with Bryce is trying to tell him like, hey, you need to be cool. You send her all these text messages. You're going to make her not want to talk to you. And so we see that Polly seems like she has a thing for the general manager because she's now like the co-general manager, because for every person that Mac and Melba put in place, Desna paired one of her people up to basically make sure that someone's always watching somebody else. And so she seems to have like she has feelings for him. I feel like they're going to end up smashing before the season is over with. But she has finally decides to meet up with Ken to discuss their relationship, and then basically she ends up telling Ken that she doesn't love him anymore. She feels as though she's incapable of loving someone due to, like, I guess her like mental illness issues. And so it's just a really heartbreaking scene because Ken seems to be really beat up about it, and I don't know if Polly's being like truthful that she doesn't love Ken, or she just feels like that's what she needs to do because she truly feels that she's incapable of being able to love someone without bringing out all of her other issues that she has. And so I felt really bad for Ken. I was like, he really loved her. He just wanted what was best for her. So I'm really sad, but I hope she still gets something from the little co-general manager with her. That's my wish that I have for her. Okay, y'all. So in the midst of all of this, Roller and Uncle Daddy still aren't getting along. So he basically telling him, like, until you tell me what has happened with my parents, like, we are not okay. We are not cool. Like, it doesn't matter. So we see that Uncle Daddy ends up running into Virginia throughout the course of the episode. And she has her little seer thing. She can tell how people are feeling and stuff like that. And so she basically says, like, whatever you're holding on to, like, you need to let that go. Like, you need to just be at peace. And so he breaks down and he was like, I know what I need to do. So he arranges a meeting with Roller and Bryce. And so basically he tells them the true story of what happened with his father. And so he tells them that his father was very abusive to their mother and that she would come back with like bruises and stuff like that, but he would just kind of ignore it and play it off. And so one time she brought the kids to him and he took them back and then found out that he had not only beat the kids, but he beat their mother so bad that he actually ended up killing their mother. And so when Uncle Daddy finds out what has happened to their mom, he became so full of rage that he went over to their house and shot their dad. And so he was the reason that his dad was dead. Roller was right, but he didn't understand the circumstances. And so Roller, he does some very great acting in the scene as he is really having to come to terms with his father's not the hero that he thought that he was. And then also, too, trying to reconcile him now knowing that his Uncle Daddy is responsible not only for the death of his father, but also, too, letting the abuse happen without checking it. And also, too, kind of lying to them their whole lives about this story, making up these stories about their family. And so Roller says he's dead to him. He doesn't care. Like, Bryce tells him, like, just chill out for a moment. But Roller seems like he just can't get over this betrayal of Uncle Daddy lying to them for all these years. So he kind of just walks off. Now, because of this, Uncle Daddy, he feels as though he has this new higher calling. He wants to help people. He makes Bryce like this life coach because somehow like Medicaid gives them extra money at the clinic if they're trying to help people at the same time get better and not just give them drugs. So Uncle Daddy decides that he's going to only give people who actually need the pills. And then for the other people, they're going to like try to rehab them and get them off of doing drugs. I don't know how this is supposed to work out. I don't know how he's supposed to make money off of this, but Uncle Daddy feels like he has a higher calling, so we just gonna have to figure out what the heck Uncle Daddy is going to do with all of this. So we find out that there's this person, Trip, at the casino, going back to Mac and Melba. And so there's this person who is Trip, who they're laundering stuff for, who's like a really high roller, but we don't understand who this person is until we come into contact with Penelope, who are one of the women in kind of this muscle competition. So while Jen is working the front the hospitality desk with Melba, she sees Penelope come up and then she mentions Tripp's name, and then Melba's whole attitude changed, like, I'm sorry, we actually do got that room available, this and that. So we looking like, well, who is this Trip dude, and then what does Penelope have to do with this? So we find out Penelope is pregnant by Trip. Then also too, they've rigged this women's muscle contest as well, making sure that Penelope is the one to win. So she's having issues because I guess he wants her to have an abortion. He doesn't want her to have the baby. And she wants to, like, she's trying to just figure out what the heck is going on. So they finally figure out, because Polly sees a picture, that Trip is actually the governor that Ann's brother is running against, that they mentioned in season 2. So we was just like, hold up, like, he's laundering all this money, he's into all this like shadiness. And so they finally find out who Trip is and that he is working with Mac and Melba. But we are also given some tea that Melba spills, where she tells that that they can't have her meddling, they can't have Desna meddling in all of this business, because then they'll also find out that the tribe, the Indian tribe, the Native American tribe that her husband is a part of, is fake. So, you know, like, they're going to lose all their money, their whole business, their whole operation, and that the co-manager, general manager on their side, he's like a part of this whole plan as well. So I was just like, ooh, this is too much. But Trip decides that he's going to have Mac and Melba have Penelope killed, because he can't have all of that getting out while he's trying to run for another election. So he's going to have her killed because she threatened to like blow up all his stuff and spill all the tea to everybody. And so Desna finds out. She tries to save Penelope, and then basically has her to go into hiding to go to her aunt's place, because they gave her a check for $500,000, but they were planning on killing her before she was ever able to cash the check. So Desna intercepts, and she thinks that she's won. But we see that they found out where Penelope was, y'all. I don't know if they killed her auntie too, but they sure killed Penelope at the end of the episode. And I was just like, ooh, they really bad. Like, they bad. Then they got the governor involved in this too. Like, it's just, ooh, all these layers that they are peeling back, it's just a little bit too much. But one of the most well done kind of, one of the subplots that is happening throughout the course of this episode would have to be with Jen. So Jen's baby daddy, let me say this better, y'all. Brienne's father comes back into Jen's life, and he basically says he wants to see his daughter. And so she's having a hard time with this because first and foremost, her dad was in jail all of her life. She doesn't know her father, but also too, she struggles with having a mixed race child because she feels as though because she only represents one side of her white side, that she's not doing enough to expose her daughter to her culture. And so we see an interesting encounter when she's in the store and her daughter's looking for a doll, and she sees that there's no black dolls. And so her mother kind of sees her as she's older, and she was just like, you couldn't like help me with this or that because like you don't understand. And so I like that Jen is really having this, like, her child needs to understand the other part of her. Like, she needs to kind of be raised in that culture as well. And as she has fears, that she's kind of failing her daughter at the same time. I think it's very interesting for them to choose to focus on that, because we really don't get to hear parents, especially a part of a mixed race child, and especially if it's only one race of that the child is being raised by, like, having those fears or feeling that both parts of their child need to be represented in some way, shape, or form. And so Jen decides that she wants to go meet with him, and then like, hey, like, she does need your family in her life, and I want to make that happen, but it has to be a slow transition. And so he basically gets mad and threatens legal action. But later, her and Bryce try to go to talk to him, and Bryce said, like, he's going to be chill. But he basically baits Bryce into punching him, attacking him, as his brother gets everything on film so they can use this as court to basically try to take custody away from Jen. So that's pretty much what she's dealing with now at this point as well. So I thought overall, I think that's everything that pretty much happened that we really need to talk about. I'm trying to find a way to keep these reviews a little bit shorter so it's not too long. But I think it's very interesting how everything's starting to play out, how Desna, who talks about being a boss and wants to make sure that everybody's winning, she's still struggling with how to be the boss, but also how to, like, handle all of these different people, as well as trying to balance a relationship, because Roller is still being persistent that he wants to be with her, but she basically says, every time I fall in love, something bad happens. So she was just like, prove that you're different, like, prove it to me. And then also too, can we talk about them calling Virginia Captain Crunch, Jack Sparrow? I was like, y'all are so disrespectful, getting on her about her eye patch. And then also too, when Virginia's like, oh, I'm gonna make sure that he stays focused, and he was like, that means intercourse. I just love the whole interactions between Dean and Virginia. I love their whole storyline. I love what they're doing with Dean's character, kind of exposing, like, the injustice that happens to black men in America. Then also too, with this new story that Jen has as well. I'm really liking how Claw season 2 is shaping up. The villains seem to be bigger and badder than they were in the previous season, and I'm just like, okay, I like where you guys are going with this. So those are my quick thoughts on Claw season 3 episode 2, Muscle and Flow. As always, my name is Sharana from Pay Your Weights, and if you like what you saw today, make sure you hit the like button, hit subscribe, share this video with your friends, and make sure you hit that notification bell. And I love you guys 3000. I'll see you soon.